All right, welcome to the broadcast, everybody. So we are talking about the closure of DMOZ tonight. DMOZ.org, and that's what you're looking at right here on your screen, DMOZ.org. Some of you guys who are a little newer to the internet marketing space probably don't know what DMOZ is, never have heard of it. So you're looking at this sign like, sorry, we're closed, and you're thinking to yourself, well, why does that even matter? I've never even heard of this site. Well, let me give you just a little bit of history first on this, and then it kind of explain why all this matters. For a lot of years, before more of the dominance of Google, you had people searching the internet, not so much through search engines, but often through these what are called live directories. And DMOZ was an example of that. I'll show you what a live directory looks like. Kind of looks like this. Some of you may be familiar with this concept of submitting your site to live directories. Well, back in the day, this used to be a great strategy because search engines weren't nearly as good as they are now. Now, if you go to Google and you do a search, you usually get what you want. Back in the day when you used to search AOL or Yahoo or some of the older search engines before Bing, some of these search engines that existed for a while, you'd do a search and you wouldn't get really what you were looking for. You get irrelevant stuff. So before there were search engines, there were live directories, and that's kind of what this is right here. So you'd come in, and if you were searching the internet, you would go and you'd say, well, today I'm interested in sports. So you'd come and you'd click on the sports section. And then it would give you a bunch of categories like you're seeing here on your screen. And you'd say, well, I'm actually a really big basketball fan, so let me find the basketball section. Boom, right here. So I'm going to click on that. And then you might say to yourself, okay, well, I'm really mostly interested in professional basketball, so I'm going to come and click on the professional section. See how I'm narrowing down my search? You're going to say, well, out of all these professional basketball leagues, I'm most interested in, the WNBA. So I click on that. And then see how it's having me drill down even further. And then it's like, okay, well, now I'm interested in the San Antonio Stars. And then what happens is then this directory gives me a bunch of related links. 1, 2, 3, in this case 4, and 5 related links to the San Antonio Stars. And that's how you would go about finding websites. This was many years ago, right? We don't do this now. See how laborious that was to find information about the San Antonio Stars? I had to go through all of these clicks to find it. It's much easier now just to go to Google and type in San Antonio Stars and I can find what I want. Or if I'm looking for something more specific than that, I can look up San Antonio Stars game score, San Antonio Stars players, and I can find more specific searches. So these live directories, this one that you're looking at here and thousands of others used to be very, very relevant. People used to use them all the time. And because people use them all the time, website owners like you guys wanted to have your websites listed in these live directories because they had the possibility of sending you visitors. But more importantly than that, and I think I brought this up before in other trainings, live directories also get you a link. Now, what's the value of a link, guys? Why would we want a link outside of just people finding the link and going to our website? If another website on the internet links into us, how does that impact us in a positive way? And I'm speaking to you guys who are here live with me right now. That wasn't rhetorical. How does it actually help us? Right. Somebody said it already. It helps us because if you have a link from, say, this section of DMOZ to your site, Google actually looks at the number of links you have from other websites on the internet, and they count them. So if I have 500 links from directories and blogs and news articles and places around the internet, that's going to help my site rank better in Google. So it's a help for your rankings. Well, so this is all the backstory to what I'm leading up to right now. One of the very best directories, and what was regarded as the very best one, if you were to get into a directory, you wanted to get into this one, was DMOZ. I mean, it was the number one. It was like if you could get your site into DMOZ, it would immediately impact your ranking and your stance in Google in a positive way. Even if you didn't get much direct traffic from DMOZ, which people don't really use DMOZ or any other directories much today. They just don't. They use Google. But it was still relevant. You would still want to get links, and it's been relevant for a lot of years up until the last few. So we had been teaching our clients, when you launch your site, one of the first things you did was you tried to get your site included into the DMOZ directory. Well, as of March 17th, 2017, without really very much notice, DMOZ has closed down and is no longer a website at all. You can see there they've set up a mirror website, so you can see kind of what it may have looked like in the past. And it says here, if you're interested in staying in touch with the DMOZ community, please visit. And they give you a website here where there's a forum where people are talking about, you know, what's going on with DMOZ. Nobody really knows a lot of the details behind the closure. Obviously, it's the internet's changed a lot. I mean, really, the writing's been on the wall for a lot of years. People don't use DMOZ anymore, right? It was bound to close. Search engines are what people use. Google is what people use. So this was slowly becoming archaic, but it was still valuable, you know, for a lot of years from an SEO standpoint. So I've got trainings as of, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago where I showed you how to get your site included here in DMOZ. No longer something you need to do or should do, or even can do, because now it's closed down. And as I've read out there, I've gone out and I've read online about what, you know, other internet marketers think about what happened. There's been some articles published recently. One from Search Engine Land here that says DMOZ has officially closed after nearly 19 years of humans trying to organize the web. And all that means is DMOZ was actually run by volunteers who would go in and actually organize websites. Like if I went and submitted a website to DMOZ, it wouldn't be some sort of robot or automatic system that looked at the site and included it. It was a real human who would open up the site, look at it, and decide if it was worthy enough to be included into DMOZ. But that's since been replaced, and you know, of course, that's not nearly as effective as Google. Google's so well automated. No longer do you need sites like this. So anyway, I mean, this is it's not really significant from a marketing standpoint. It doesn't really change what we teach you guys. There are still some live directories out there that are worth your time. I may have shown this in years past, but I'll show it right now for you guys who are curious about this, because the natural question is, well, should I be submitting myself to other directories? Is it still worth my time? This website right here, this is called Directory Critic. A directory critic is just a big list of directories that are out there. There's many, many more directories. DMOZ was just the most popular one and the most well-used and probably, you know, best taken care of directory. But there's many, many others. And so directorycritic.com has a list of free directories here that you could go and submit your website to. And as I scroll down on this page, I mean, there's hundreds. There's 11 pages here of 49 each, so that gives you some idea. There's actually a lot of directories you could submit your site to. The question I get from clients in the year 2017 is it valuable to really submit your site to directories? And the answer is, well, probably not really. I mean, it is and it isn't. If you can find some directories that are very relevant to your niche, you have a site selling educational toys for kids, and you can find some niche-like directories, kids toy directories, kids in general directories, stuff like that. That's more related to your niche. This would be great. Let's say you own a restaurant in Los Angeles, and there's LA portals for restaurants, website portals. You would want your website included in that mix. There's still good directories to be had, but I don't know if I would submit my site as much to the big general directories anymore, just because they don't carry a lot of value. And now with DMOZ going down, it's just a matter of time before all these old general directories sort of filter out and go away. That's just the way the internet's going. So if you've been doing a lot of directory submissions before, maybe you've never even heard of directory submissions because we don't teach as much of it anymore. That's okay. I mean, it's not something you need to do, but if you do decide to do it, you're going to want to look for very specific directories catered to your niche. And we've got some trainings on that. That's kind of beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about today. I just wanted to give you guys the news about DMOZ closing down and what that might mean for your marketing strategy, which is really a whole lot of nothing at all. Corinne, you say, so these will only really help with Google rankings now. Yes and no. So yeah, people don't use them for traffic, right? People don't search directories anymore unless it's a really tailored niche directory, and in which case you can usually tell which ones are even used. I saw one the other day that was kind of cool locally here. It was a directory for stuff to do in the state of Utah. I was online just searching, what kinds of things could we do locally, with my wife and my 2 kids, stuff that we could do that would be fun locally. And I found this site that was just basically a portal. It was a directory for, recreation ideas in the state of Utah. And people were submitting their site to this directory. So if I owned a business that had some recreational use in the state of Utah, I take my kids to this trampoline place all the time where they go and they jump on these giant trampolines. Maybe some of you guys have seen these places before. If I owned that company, I would want my site in that directory for 2 reasons. One, because I could get some direct traffic and some free advertising that way. And then 2, that link inside that directory helps my Google rankings. So why wouldn't I want that, right? So anyway, look for these niche directories. I remember years ago, this was probably 10 years ago now. One of the first things you do once you launch your website is you would go for weeks and you'd submit your site to every single directory out there. Hundreds and hundreds. I remember manually doing it, sitting there for hours and hours and hours. And just by that fact alone, I would get high rankings in Google. It's the craziest thing. If you did that now, it probably would barely affect your rankings. It can help a little bit if you find the right kinds of directories, but your time is better spent doing some other more effective strategies. This one it's just not one anymore. So anyway, guys, questions about that? Does that kind of make sense? A lot of you guys aren't familiar with directory submissions, and so maybe this doesn't make as much sense to you. But for those that are and have done this before, it just might not be worth your time. And certainly with DMOZ being closed down, it's you're obviously not going to be submitting your site there anymore. And I've been reading from other marketers online recently who really have, in their opinion, I mean, they've seen the writing on the wall for a long time, and I don't know how valuable DMOZ has been anyway for a while. I've tried to get clients of mine into DMOZ, and it was always such a crapshoot. Sometimes you'd get in, and most of the time you wouldn't, and it just seemed like an exclusive club that you had to know somebody to get into it. Anyway, it was kind of a joke. So I don't know how much weight it carried with Google anymore, but no longer do you need to worry about it. You can skip the DMOZ directory submission and move on to other marketing strategies. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, that's all I really wanted to cover tonight. I hope that was helpful to you, especially you guys who are in the link building phase. Skip this and move on to other things. We'll see you guys all next week for some more marketing training on Thursday night. Thanks again, guys.